Okay, you know that feeling, right? You're staring at something you absolutely have to do, and then you find yourself cleaning out the fridge instead. We've all been there. But what if putting things off isn't just about being lazy? What if it's something more?
Well, that's the big idea we're digging into, and it comes from the work of psychologist Dr. Linda Sapadin. The thinking is that your specific way of procrastinating, it isn't some random bad habit. It's actually a clue, a little signpost pointing to something much deeper about who you are and what you need. So, why do we really do it? It's so easy to just throw our hands up and say, I'm just lazy. But that's not the whole story. The truth is, there's usually a powerful psychological battle happening right under the surface. And that battle has a name. Psychologists call it an approach avoidance conflict. It sounds fancy, but it's simple. Part of you wants to approach the task, to get it done. But another part of you is pulling back, avoiding it for a powerful reason. You're basically stuck in a tug of war with yourself. And listen, that's not a character flaw. That's just a very, very human thing to experience. So, how do we figure out the why? How do we win that tug of war? Well, it starts by understanding which personality type is pulling the rope. The source material breaks this all down into 6 really distinct types. Let's dive in and see which one sounds, well, a little too familiar. So this all comes from Dr. Linda Sapadin and her book, How to Beat Procrastination in the Digital Age. And her big idea is a total game changer. The way you delay isn't just random. It is a direct reflection of your personality. And once you get that, procrastination goes from being something you're ashamed of to something you can actually understand. And what's so cool about this framework is how deep it goes. It's not just a label. For each of these 6 types, she identifies a very specific style of thinking, a style of speaking, a pattern of acting, and, this is the most important part, a core emotional need that isn't being met. It builds this complete picture, you know? All right, here we go. We're going to do a quick tour of the 6 types. As I'm talking, just have a listen. See if you can spot yourself. Which one of these makes you kind of nod your head and say, oh yeah, that's me? First up, the perfectionist. This is the person who gets so stuck on getting every single tiny detail exactly right that they can't even finish the project, or sometimes they can't even start. They'll overwork something for hours because in their mind, good enough feels like total failure. It's all driven by this deep fear of being judged, and that fear just ends up sabotaging them. Next, we have the dreamer. Oh, the dreamer is brilliant at coming up with huge, visionary, amazing ideas. The problem? Actually making those dreams a reality. That requires dealing with all the boring, annoying, practical details. And that's exactly where they get stuck. They love the big picture, but the step-by-step process just kills their motivation. Then there's the worrier. For the worrier, procrastination is all about fear. They just don't want to leave their comfort zone because they're totally paralyzed by what-if thinking. What if I fail? What if people laugh at me? What if I can't handle it? That anxiety makes doing nothing at all feel like the safest option. And here's a classic, the crisis maker. This is the person who is basically addicted to the adrenaline rush of a last-minute deadline. They create all this drama and intensity because, honestly, a calm, steady pace just feels boring to them. They tell themselves and everyone else that they thrive under pressure, but usually their work and their stress levels tell a different story. Just take a second with this one. Does that phrase sound familiar? If you've ever said that out loud to justify leaving something to the absolute last minute, well, you might just have a little bit of the crisis maker in you. It's probably the #1 excuse for this style of procrastination. Number 5 is the defier. For this person, procrastination is a form of quiet rebellion. They hate being told what to do. It feels like a threat to their freedom. So whether they openly argue or just do it passive-aggressively, where they agree to do it but then forget, they use delay as a way to feel like they're still in control. And finally, we have the pleaser. The pleaser procrastinates because they are just completely overcommitted. They find it almost impossible to say no. So what happens? Their own important projects and priorities get pushed to the very bottom of the list. They end up feeling stressed out and resentful, and their most important goals never get done because they've just taken on way too much for everyone else. Okay, so now that you've probably seen a little bit of yourself in one of those, what do you actually do about it? Well, the source material offers a solution that is so simple, it's kind of shocking. It all comes down to changing just one little word in the way you talk to yourself. The entire problem can often be traced back to this one little word, but. Just think about it. I need to finish this report, but I want it to be perfect. That word but is a verbal stop sign. It cancels out everything that came before it and perfectly sets up your excuse. It is the engine that powers procrastination.
So what's the trick? You swap your but for an and. That's it. This simple little language hack is called the and speedway, and it's totally transformative because but creates a conflict, a wall, and creates a connection. It builds a bridge. It takes two ideas that seem to be fighting and puts them on the same team. And this is how it works in practice. This one word is the difference between being stuck and having a plan. So instead of, I need to do this, but I want it to be perfect, which just stops you cold, you say, I want to do this, and I'll complete it even if it's not perfect. Do you see that shift? The and doesn't ignore the feeling. That desire for perfection is still there, but it doesn't let it be a roadblock. It turns the excuse into part of the solution. So we've identified the types, and we have this powerful little tool. Where do we go from here? Well, the first and by far the most critical step, the one that everything else is built on, is just good old-fashioned self-awareness. You know, this quote from Cervantes just nails it. Make it your business to know yourself, which is the most difficult lesson in the world. Understanding your procrastination style isn't about beating yourself up. It's about getting to know yourself. Once you finally understand the why behind your delay, you can start fixing the real problem, not just the symptom. So I'll just leave you with this. We've looked at the clues hidden inside your habits. The question isn't if you procrastinate anymore, it's how you do it and why. So which personality are you? And now that you know, what's the first and statement you're going to try?